In this problem, we're told car A is traveling at 22 meters per second and car B is traveling at 29 meters per second. Car A is 300 meters behind car B when the driver of car A accelerates his car with an acceleration of 2.4 meters per second squared. How long does it take car A to overtake car B? Right, so we're given a bunch of options. And so how do we want to solve this problem? So the way we're going to do it is by taking the position of both of these cars and setting them equal to each other. So we want to create a position function essentially. And the way we do that is by using this equation right here. So it's basically the one of the kinematic equations with the final position, right? So final position is equal to the initial position plus the initial velocity times t plus 1/2 at squared, right? So we're going to create one of these functions for each of the cars, and then we're going to set them equal. So first, let's understand what's going on. So we have car A traveling 22 meters per second, right? And then we have car B that's 300 meters ahead traveling at 29. And so at this point, this car is going to accelerate and it's going to speed up until it catches. So let's start with just car A. So let's create a position function. So we know A, right, which is the final position, is going to be equal to the initial. And so you want to imagine this like an origin. So imagine this like this, right? So the initial position, I imagine they're on the same line. So there's no change in Y, but in this case, it's X final or X initial is 0, right? Because it's on the origin. So A is equal to the X0, which is 0, right? And then we can just ignore that, plus the initial velocity, which is 22, multiplied by t, plus 1/2 times a, what's its acceleration? So its acceleration is 2.4, right? Multiplied by t squared. So that's A. Now let's move on to B. So for B, its initial velocity or initial position, right? If this is the origin, it's 300 meters ahead of the origin, right? So x0 is 300. And then we plus v sub 0, its initial velocity is 29 times t. And then plus 1/2, its acceleration is 0. It's not accelerating, so it's really, this whole thing is 0, so we don't have to add. So really, we get 300 plus 29t is B, and we set it equal to A, right? Because we want to find the time it takes for them to be equal, right? So plus 1/2 times 2.4 times t squared, right? If we solve for t, that's time. And so what you should notice here is if we just combine these, right? So I'm going to minus 29t, and then I'm going to minus 300. You're going to get 0 equals... it's going to be minus 300, or let me start right here. So 1/2 times 2.4 is just 1.2. So 1.2 times t squared. 29t, or 22t minus 29t is minus 7t, and then minus 300. So you should notice this is a quadratic equation. So what you can do is use the quadratic formula to solve. You can do that. What I recommend is using your graphing calculator. So all you do is take your quadratic function, right? Because we're going to get multiple values, but just take this, plug it into your function and graph it. So 1.2x squared minus 7x minus 300. If you graph it, you're going to get something that looks like this. It's not perfect, but basically this, and you're going to get a positive and negative value. So keep in mind, time has to be positive. There's no such thing as negative time. So your answer is going to be right here. So quadratic, basically what you do is solve for the x value when it equals 0. So basically just look on your graph and see when it's right here. So if you look on your graph and see when it's right there, right, so there's a function you can use just to check, but you want to do second trace if you're using TI-84, and then just use the 0 function, and then find when it's 0. And when you do that, you're going to get t is, or this function's 0 at 18.99, which is basically 19. So basically 19 seconds, they're going to be equal. So at 19 seconds, the other one's negative, but keep in mind, again, negative time doesn't exist, so it's just the positive value. And if we look at our answers, 19 seconds is A. But yeah, so 19 seconds, that's going to be when they're equal. But yeah, so this is your answer, and hopefully you found this useful.